There, is your financial insecurity causing you anxiety? That is our question today. And if it is, we are here to tell you that it doesn't have to. And we have some great solutions to help address that for you. So just to quickly recap, we're on episode 66 of the Queer Money follow-up series, episode 66 of the Queer Money podcast that we're covering.
And the 66th day in a row of us doing a live broadcast on YouTube.
So many sixes. Then the title of this episode that we're reviewing is MassMutual's LGBTQ financial security study. And at the time, MassMutual was a sponsor of the Queer Money podcast, and they had done a couple of studies that we used to help inform some of the topics that we did for the Queer Money podcast. And this one kind of concerned us a little bit. There was a ton of data in it, but what concerned us most was a particular stat we're going to get to here pretty quickly here. So just to briefly recap, the study found, the LGBTQ financial security study by MassMutual found that nearly 50% of those surveyed for this study described themselves as either not too or not at all financially secure. That's nearly 50%. Nearly half of us in our community list ourselves as not secure or close to not secure with our finances. And that's pretty scary, but it gets a little bit more concerning because 60% of us worry about our household finances on a weekly basis, while 65% of respondents said that financial concerns affect their mental and
their health and stress
levels.
Well, their mental health.
Their mental health, their financial anxiety.
And their physical health, right? We know that there's a cascading effect of mental health can affect your physical health and vice versa. What is interesting, and I think the data will tell in the future, right? When we go back and look at 2020, 2021, that these numbers are probably going to not change, or they will not go down, most likely go up because of COVID, because we know that roughly 2/3 of LGBT folks said that they have been affected financially. Their jobs and income has been affected by COVID, which is incredible compared to the number of individuals who are non-LGBT. So this insecurity, financial insecurity, was happening long before this current financial situation. We can only expect that it was probably worsened through the current situation.
Yeah. So, Dave, you said in this particular episode, when we hit that 65% of respondents saying that their financial insecurity is causing them mental anguish, you had said that means that 2 out of every 3 of us. Every time you see a gaggle of gays hanging out together, 2 out of every 3 of them are stressed about their financial situation. And whether they're expressing that to you or not, whether they look fabulous or not, the data is showing that the most of us are under a lot of financial stress. And David and I are here to simply say that it does not have to be this way.
Right.
On this particular episode, and we encourage you to listen to it because I think it's amazing, we shared 7 solutions to help address this financial anxiety. Today, we're gonna reduce that down to the 3 most effective solutions, and the reason that they're the 3 most effective solutions is because they are the biggest problem from a financial perspective that our community has.
Right, and I will say this. Let me ask you the question: would you rather learn from your own mistakes, or would you rather learn from ours so you don't have to make the mistakes? Right? I mean, we have made, in our early days, a shitload of really bad financial decisions, and we righted the ship because we realized where we were going, right? I mean, you probably have heard this scenario or this analogy before, that when a ship heads off or a plane takes off, they are constantly correcting themselves, because if they fly in a straight line straight to the destination, they will be way off if they fly in a straight line. Not only because the earth is spinning, but also because of the fact that there's all sorts of outside circumstances that are blowing them or moving them in various directions, right? So they constantly have to check themselves. And that was what we had. We were flying a straight ship, right? Or flying a straight plane. We thought we could get there based on what our hopes and dreams were, but we really didn't put anything into action. And that's when we realized, we are way off course, way off course. In our mid-30s, we had zero money. We had less money than zero, and which is kind of right.
Less than zero.
We had
Sounds like a good name.
Right, and we had to fix that, and we don't want you to be making the same mistake. Partly because we know what that mental anguish is like,
Right,
and
exactly.
we know what is happening to more people in our community. We need to be focusing on this in the community. We don't have to be this way. Our choices are oftentimes the reason why we end up this way.
Exactly. We like to provide a lot of color and fun to this particular topic, but there is a critical reason to this, because as the data is showing, this is causing us a lot of undue anxiety. So our 3 tips that we've distilled from the 7 from episode 66 of the Queer Money podcast are these 3. The first is pay off credit card debt. This is the leading request that we get from folks, whether it's through email, from the Facebook group, from our Queer Money Facebook group. Constantly, it comes up over and over and over again that the leading financial concern for our community is specifically credit card debt. Despite all the talk about student loan debt, it's credit card debt that stresses most of the community out. So we created the credit card payoff plan using exactly what we learned to help pay off our debt in 2.5 years. We paid off $51,000 in credit card debt in 2.5 years. And we put all of those steps, minus all the mistakes, all of those steps in the credit card payoff plan to help make paying off your credit card debt as fast as possible. And we only launched this course 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And so far, we have helped pay off over $500,000 in credit card debt.
We're getting close to 500,000. We had a couple of people share some numbers with us the other day, and that I think is getting us really close to that $500,000 mark. And that means that, at 17-20%, we have helped people with our course save almost $100,000 in interest payments. It's funny because one of these common thoughts that we get, or common responses we get from people when they say
common comments.
Well, right, that when they're talking about paying off their debt, they're like, well, I won't have as much fun, I won't have as much money. The reality is that as soon as you're done paying your debt off, you're going to have a lot more money. A lot more money, because you're not paying on top of paying on top of paying for things that you bought and used up a long time ago, right? Yeah. So that's our number one thing. And it's kind of funny because I came across a meme today on Instagram, wanted to share that with you. And that's this whole idea. Everybody really wants that great life, right? We want that financial security. We want to do well. But what's so funny about that is when you suggest to them the path to doing this, getting on a budget, paying off debt, all of a sudden it's impossible, right? Right. So
our second tip is to increase your credit score. We get this request a lot. And I don't know, it's curious to me how often we get the request, because I don't know how often people are applying for loans, but it's a very important topic for people. So increase your credit score. And because of that request that we get quite consistently, not as much about credit card debt, but pretty frequently, we partnered with Experian to create the Build or Improve Your Credit Score powered by Experian's Boost. And this is a free course that we created in partnership with Experian, and it is the fastest way to improve your credit score the most. In fact, some folks have been able to improve their credit score within the 50 points within the first 5-10 minutes following the first couple of steps that we outline in this course in partnership with Experian.
Yeah. And when you think about, again, let's go back to this idea, the meme of wanting to be rich or wanting to have financial security, there is a massive connection between having a financially stable life and having a good credit score.
Yeah.
The lower your credit score, the more things are going to cost you. The lower your credit score, the harder it is going to be for you to get an apartment, to rent, or to get a phone, sometimes even to get the job that you want, because more and more employers are looking at credit score and credit history as a safeguard to protect themselves, because they know that individuals who who have low credit scores oftentimes are more anxious, more worried about money, and may be more likely to take steps in their own lives or at work that puts the company in a precarious situation. So they're doing this to protect themselves from risk, which could put you in a situation where you really cannot get the job that allows you to make the financial steps forward that you want to make. So improve your credit score.
I feel like post-COVID, when we have the new normal and more people are working from home and companies are hiring more people to do their job, but to do their job from home, I think that credit score is going to become an even more important barometer, because it's a gauge of how you handle responsibility. It's only one of several, so that alone might not preclude you from a job. And of course, it doesn't define your entire existence, but it is a barometer. So if you're competing against two people and you're other than your credit scores, you're head to head, a lower credit score could mean that the other person gets that job.
Right.
Tip number 3 is to take the first step in having a fabulous retirement. And that first step in having a fabulous retirement...
Go right back to that.
No!
Right. Get on a budget and pay off your debt.
Get on a budget. That is, you simply can't achieve... I don't know anybody who's successful financially who isn't on some sort of a budget.
Right.
I'm sure that there are people out there, but we know lots of people who are successful in finance and who have a lot of money, and every single one of them has some sort of budget.
Right. It goes back to that old saying I say over and over again: no one gets rich spending more money than they make. It is simply impossible to acquire the financial stability that you want when you consistently, month after month, week after week, you spend more money than you make or you have. That just continues to erode your financial stability, right? And so if you want to have a fabulous retirement, if you want to feel less financial anxiety, getting on a budget it changed our lives, right? Yeah. It changed our lives completely when we really got on a budget. And it's going to, there is no financial there's no company out there today that has any level of success that doesn't have a budget. Mm-hmm. Every single company that has gone public, any company that you can think about that's out there in the mainstream, they have an individual who's responsible for making sure that that company knows and understands where their money is going and where it's coming from, right? And that is exactly what we do when we have a budget. We have to know where the money comes in and where it goes when it goes out.
Exactly. So for this very purpose, we created what we call the Budget Buster Bundle, and it walks you through step by step how to create a dynamic budget. We will analyze your spending so we can try to rein in and help you save some money. It'll also help you reduce some expenses, and then we can pull all that together to create a budget that you can actually live with, and that is somewhat dynamic, so it kind of mirrors the fluctuation in your life.
Yeah. So why does this matter? Why does it matter to us? Why do John and I spend our days and nights doing this kind of thing? It's because we want to see a stronger queer community, and a critical part of that is having financially independent LGBTQ individuals and allies. As a community, we cannot be insecure and be empowered. It just doesn't happen, right? So more of us need to be financially stable, financially secure. And where does that come from? It comes from us. It has to come from us. It doesn't come from a windfall of money. It doesn't come from politicians. It doesn't come from corporations. It comes from inside of us. We each have to take that first step, that step that we know we can take, and that is to actually want it, to do something about it, to take those steps, and budgeting is the first one.
Exactly. So thank you for joining us for another Queer Money follow-up. Here is your Queer Money follow-up takeaway from this particular episode. Slightly different than usual. We linked to all of the all the courses that we mentioned on this episode in the description below. So find which one you want to tackle the most, the firstest, whether it's credit card debt, your credit score, or your budget, and click on that one and sign up for it and start tackling that. You can also, as always, Sign up for and get your free copy of the 5 Building Blocks of a Happy Gay Life at debtfreeguys.com/happy. And then let us know in the comments section below if you think that your financial insecurity is causing you some anxiety. And we'd love to have that discussion and see exactly how we can help you.
Yeah. And then tomorrow, join us. We had our friend Melanie Lockhart on the podcast, and this was in September. September is National Suicide Awareness Month, and she does a roundup where she brings together personal finance bloggers on a regular basis to talk about the connection between money and suicide. And so tomorrow we're going to be reviewing that particular episode, a surprising fact about gay suicide and what you can do about it. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. And then, of course, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and set notifications on so you don't miss future follow-ups.
Exactly. Thank you, and we will see you tomorrow.